This is Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 12th meeting of the Long Beach Board of Zoning Appeals. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Call this meeting to order. It's 6:58, July 12th, 2022, Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Let's call roll first. Here.
Here. Here.
Standing by Zoom. Are you here, Chris?
Present. Sorry, Meg, I can barely hear you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So the board members are present. Attorney Willoughby is present. BZA Secretary Meg Collins, I'm present. Building Commission Representative Bob LeMay.
Here.
That concludes roll.
Thank you. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Thanks for being here. We're excited to have you. We want to move to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, June 14th, 2022. Do we have a motion for that?
I can make that motion. I'll second.
Okay. We need to do a roll call? No. You're all here. Perfect. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being none? Those pass. Old business, we don't have any. New business, none. We don't have any preliminary hearings, so we'll go right into the public hearings for Todd and Jennifer Rosinski, and I'll let Meg read the description.
This is the public hearing for Todd and Jenny Brzezinski of 2016 Oriole Trail. Developmental standards variance petition requesting variances from the requirements of section 154.057, schedule of district regulations, setback height, zoning lot size and coverage. Petitioner is seeking to install a stone patio and pergola and replace the existing walkway to match stone on the patio, resulting in increased lot coverage in excess of 35% on a lot that is 10,500 square feet. The preliminary hearing opened at the May 10th BZA meeting and was continued to the June 14th meeting. The public hearing is set to open tonight at the July 12th BZA meeting.
Thank you, Meg. Todd, we welcome you to the podium and explain your petition.
I'm Todd Rosinski, I'm the owner of the property.
1 second, Mr. Rosinski, sorry, and I hate to do this, Madam Chairperson, I believe it would be appropriate to remind the petitioners and all petitioners that in order for their petition and the relief sought to be granted, they need a unanimous vote of the board. And as you know, the practice of the board has been to give a courtesy to petitioners if they choose to continue their public hearing with the knowledge that they must have a unanimous vote of all three members to have the relief sought to be granted.
Thank you. Also, one more thing, I'm supposed to say that whether or not all requirements have been met and the requirements of...
Yes.
Yes, so the requirements to open this public hearing have been met.
So you can continue,
Okay.
or you can continue to next month based on.
I'll continue.
Okay.
I'm Todd Rosinski, the owner of the property at 2016 Oriole Trail in Long Beach. I submitted a petition for increasing the zoning lot coverage ordinance number 154.057 from 37.3% to 43.9%. We'd like to replace backyard and brick patio with a brick patio and pergola for privacy and some protection.
All right, any questions from the board for Tom?
No, I understand was that? I understand the alterations you made to the request, so I have no questions.
Yeah, I agree. Now, we're gonna close the public comments. Is that correct, Chris? No, over on that?
No, you're going to, the public hearing is still open. You're just going to ask for comments for and against, as well as any correspondence. That includes any correspondence that may have been sent in.
Thank you. Forgive me for the wrong order. Anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition, feel free to step forward. Meg, do we have any letters that were in favor of the petition?
We did receive letters. There are 3 of them. The first one is from Chris Cleary of 2007 Oriole Trail in support of the variance request. The next one is from Laura and John Walsh of 2014 Oriole Trail. And the last one was from Ruth McDonald of 2009 Oriole Trail, all 3 in support.
All right, anybody in opposition of this petition, feel free to step forward. All right, did we receive any letters of opposition?
We did not.
Okay. All right, now time for public comment is closed, so you can go ahead and have a seat. We'll debate a little bit up here and then call for a motion. So do either of you have anything you want to add or discuss or?
Motion in favor of, excuse me. Is it on?
Yes.
I'm prepared to make a motion in support of granting request.
I'll second that motion.
Read the findings as prepared. I'll start with the request again. Petitioners seek a developmental standard variance and relief from section 154.057 of the zoning code in appendix A, lot coverage for the purpose of constructing a new stone patio along with a rear pergola and replacing an existing walkway with matching stone that will result in, first, the reduction in any existing non-conforming encroachment into the setbacks, but 2, an overall increase in already non-conforming lot coverage to a total of 43.9%, which is generally prohibited under the code. The Long Beach Advisory Board Zoning Appeals, after giving due consideration to the subject petition for development standard variance, supporting documents, testimony, and evidence presented during the public hearing on said petition, other materials presented to the BZA that are part of the public record, and the legal requirements set forth under the Indiana and Long Beach codes, the BZA now makes the following findings. First, the approval of the requested development standard variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, and morals, and general welfare, because the contemplated project will be constructed in a manner similar to other projects and improvements allowed in and around the town. And all construction will be in compliance with applicable provisions of the town's building code. 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property subject to the requested development standard variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because the project involves updating and improving the property and removing existing non-conforming setback encroachments while maintaining the general compatibility of the proposed improvement with the character of the existing home and immediate neighborhood. And 3, the strict application of the zoning code will result in practical difficulties in the use of the subject property for which the requested development standard variance is sought, because due to the unique lot coverage issues caused by the size and layout of the existing driveway, petitioners would not otherwise be able to to make the contemplated improvements in, or B, use and enjoy their property in the same manner as other property owners that are similarly situated. Based on the foregoing findings, as well as due regard for the requirements of both state and local laws, it is the decision of the BZA to approve and grant the requested development standard variance from section 154.057 of the zoning code and appendix A lot coverage, and authorize petitioners to construct a new stone patio along with the rear pergola and replace an existing walkway with matching stone that will result in, one, the reduction of any existing non-conforming encroachments into setbacks, but also, two, an overall increase in already non-conforming lot coverage to a total of 43.9%. Subject to the following determination and/or conditions. One, no part of these findings and decisions shall be deemed to include any consideration or determination regarding any other section of the zoning code, as no such relief was requested of or is otherwise properly before the BZA for consideration as part of the subject petition. And two, petitioners must obtain all required and applicable permits, including but not limited to a building permit, prior to the commencement of any work, all of which shall be based on and subject to the drawings and plans submitted to the BZA for consideration under the petition.
After reading those findings and decisions, we'll take a vote to approve the petition or deny.
Meg Canier, approve. John Mangle,
Approve.
Doug Wickstrom,
Approve.
So, Mr. Lozinski, you do have to get a building permit, but congratulations.
Thank you.
One moment while we regroup. Move to the second public hearing for Yellow Bear Farms LLC. Now have Meg read the description, please.
This is a public hearing for Yellow Bear Farms LLC, lots 51 to 73 of Hidden Shores, first edition, with the parcel number. Developmental standards variance petition, requesting variance from the requirements of section 154.048, maximum height of buildings. Petitioner is seeking to build a home with a height increase from 27 to 33 feet from the highest final grade. The preliminary hearing opened at the June 14th BZA meeting, and the public hearing is set to open tonight.
Our representative for this petition, and we give you the same courtesy. You can choose to continue to next month when we have a full board, or you can have us. We have unanimous vote.
Sure, we'll continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, this is Chris. I just want to point out as a point of order before they begin, I'm not sure if Meg pointed out that they've met the notice requirements, but we want to make sure that that's on the record. And number two, there is a deficiency in the submissions that were required from petitioner from last month in terms of proof of ownership. We have a power of attorney essentially to
I can continue that. But we did not receive a warranty deed.
Yeah, we sent that to him this morning,
Okay,
so I have a copy of it.
okay, that'd be great if you could show us that. Yeah. We got it, Chris. He's going to show us a copy of the warranty deed. He said he sent us a copy or sent you the copy this morning.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it, so we just want to make sure that's of record. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You got you pulled saw this one, sorry?
Yes, Chris. I also saw the deed and I opened it and looked at it. Okay, sorry, well, sort of did. Okay, on your word, Meg will,
She got it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wilby, for bringing that up. Okay, you may explain your petition to us and who you are.
Okay, so my name is Mike Scott, on behalf of Yellow Beer Farms. I appreciate you hearing this tonight. Thank you for that. Our request is for a variance from the 27-foot to a 33-foot height variance. All the other setbacks we're in really good shape with. We've got a lot of room around us. We're just looking for a little bit of extra height based on the scale of the home, and then based on the water table that we are dealing with and the soil reports that we received on where we should put the crawl space based on the water level. So pretty simple request. I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
Also, just wanted to remind you of the hidden shores. You'll have to pay attention to what their building codes are, as well as the wetlands.
Yes.
You mentioned that last meeting as well, but one.
Yeah, we couldn't hear the last one, so I couldn't understand what was said, and I guess they had trouble recording it or something, so we weren't able to see that yet.
Right.
But yeah, I've already talked to the president and a couple of people of that,
Okay.
of that organization, so I believe we're good shape on
Okay.
that, and I understand exactly where the wetland line is right along the water, so yeah, we're up to speed on that
Okay,
too.
we do apologize for not
Yeah,
being able to hear.
no problem.
So we'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody in favor of the petition that would like to step forward? All right, any letters?
no letters in favor.
Okay, thank you. And you can go ahead and sit down.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, thank you for bearing with us. Any letters well, first we'll start with public comment that's opposed to the petition. Anyone? Anyone opposed? Okay. Did we receive any correspondence?
We did, we received 2 letters in opposition. The first one is from Rick and Elizabeth Luderbach of 2511 Fairway Drive. The second one was from John Van Gemeren of 2426 Hideaway Point.
Thank you. We'll close the time for public comment and move forward. Board members, any comments or any questions for petitioner at all? All right, being that there are none, I did receive a letter from our fire chief with regard to this bill. Some time ago, this is Kurt Ernst, who is our fire chief. Some time ago, the town of Long Beach passed an ordinance with the intent to limit the height of buildings. The Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department was instrumental in the efforts to pass this important ordinance. Structures taller than allowed in the ordinance are indeed a danger to the community for a number of reasons. A, excuse me, the equipment of the Long Beach Fire Department allows our firefighters to reach levels in a typical structure as limited by the height ordinance. Our ladders can reach a 3-story structure for rescue and fire suppression operations. We will not be able to safely conduct rescue and fire suppression in a taller structure. This goes directly both to the safety of the occupants as well as the first responders, as without having the availability of a ladder, firefighters of first responders can be trapped during rescue operations with no exit in the event that their primary entrance or exit was blocked by fire or other unforeseen subsequent or occurrence. If buildings in excess of the height ordinance are built beyond the height limit or ever to become fully engulfed with fire and or the potential collapse, which is a very real possibility given modern construction. The potential collapse zone could endanger adjacent properties and unduly put firefighters at risk on the scene. D, multi-story structures beyond 2 and 3 stories would typically be classified as commercial buildings in many jurisdictions. They would then be required to install sprinkler systems. Unfortunately, due to the restrictions from the state of Indiana, the town is not permitted to mandate sprinkler systems in residential structures. During the efforts to pass the height ordinance, there were questions posted about firefighting equipment that could reach higher multi-story structures. There are many reasons why such equipment that could reach higher elevations in excess of 3 stories would not be feasible. A, the streets are generally too narrow in most cases to accommodate the size of that type of equipment, which would be especially true to the present matter where the property in question is on a peninsula. There are concerns that the water system, the hydrants, would not have sufficient pipe size and capacity to supply both such additional equipment with also simultaneously being able to supply water for primary fire suppression and rescue operations. The issue of the height ordinance is something the Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department, as well as many other members of the community, took very seriously when it was put into place. The fire department would not be inclined to be in favor of any variances granted to allow structures to be built beyond the limits of this ordinance. We say this with no other reason than the safety of the public, the occupants of the structures in question, and of course, the safety of our first responders. It is for these reasons that we respectfully request the Board of Zoning Appeals uphold the height restriction as to this matter and deny any request for variances accordingly. Signed, Kurt Ernst, Fire Chief, Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department. So that's been read into record as well.
I don't think we asked if anybody on Zoom had any comments, either for or against.
Okay. Anyone on Zoom have comments or in favor of the petitioner? Thank you. Anyone opposed to the petition on Zoom? Okay. All right.
So, sure.
Thank you.
So just a few questions. What opportunities do you have to lower the roof? And I don't think it needs to be either gable or flat roof. There are things you can do in between. For example, what's the roof pitch? Can you get to the ordinance somehow? Maybe it's a little bit of pitch, maybe it's a little bit of ceiling height, maybe it's a little bit of berming, but that's sure. Whatever it's trying to do to get there.
Yeah, like you can maybe, but we've actually already done a fair amount of that with that Mansard roof design. That's the whole intent, is to keep that height way down. Otherwise, a structure like this with a gable roof, for instance, would be much higher. But we already have a pretty good flat, if you will, flat area because of that Mansard roof. That's the only way we keep this as long as it is. So we've done that to try to keep that down a lot. We're doing a crawl space, not a basement, and so we're literally keeping the crawl space. The soil board said we should be 2 feet above the water level. That's all we are, and it's a 4-foot crawl space. So we're keeping it as low as we could as far as that goes. Bringing up the grade just to allow slope away from the structure. That's a building code thing to be able to make sure we have drainage away from it. So we felt like we took all those things into account, even to try to keep it into the 33. The fire chief sounded like he thought this was multiple stories, but it's just 2 stories. I'm not sure.
The ordinance speaks to the levels, the way it's worded.
Oh, okay.
It was addressed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I just want to make sure we do. It's no basement even. It's just the 2 stories on the crawl space.
So from grade to bottom of the upper level windows would be approximately 15 feet. That would be where the firefighter would be coming in and out of the house, would be about 15 feet off the ground. So this is not excessive height for a ladder, I would say.
You're talking about the second story.
Yeah,
Second story.
Yes, exactly. So I consider 12-foot plate to main and 2-foot the windows be on the floor, and then obviously some distance for the grade to be below that. We've also recessed the floor joists within the foundation system itself to try to get ourselves a starting point as low as possible. I think the opportunity to lower the roof further would be to just chop that answer roof down, which ultimately doesn't change anything for the firefighters getting in or out of the building. Also, to the point of it collapsing, there's no structure within hundreds of feet of the house, so there's nothing for it to fall onto.
Pretty lonely spot.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we could put in a dry hydrant or something closer to the house to help with water control, for the firefighters to be able to have water closer. Like maybe you could speak to that as something to help.
Yeah, we'd have to look into all that. You're right, yeah, I don't get into that. We would be able to speak to that without a lot of.
So it looks like the first floor is about 96, ceiling, is that roughly
The first floor, this is 12.
12 foot ceiling?
Yes.
So, you get a foot out of that.
You certainly could. So, part of this is the scale of the house. So I consider.
I understand, sir.
Any other questions?
No, I guess I would invite them to take another look and see how close they can get without destroying the, I don't want it to look like a Kmart sitting there.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid, is just something that looks, it's gonna be a large home, we're just trying to keep it not looking, really out of scale, because, it's, most of the years we're working, we're used to 35-foot height requirements, so, 27 is certainly on the shorter side, so we're like, oh, wow, we're kind of, with all the things we mentioned, we're trying to keep it, as low as feasible. Fortunately, with the size, they really wanted to have those taller floors. Yeah, yes, sir. I have a question for Chris. Chris, is a matter of procedure, if we deny this petition, it essentially freezes the opportunity for them to proceed for 1 year, is that correct?
That is correct.
As in proceed as far as trying to get a variance again, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let's be clear, a variance for this specific variance.
This ordinance.
Okay. Another question is, I don't know if it's, are you allowed to say, hey, we'll give you a 30-foot, but not 33? Or are you allowed to do something?
We only can, attest to what you have presented, what's in front of us.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Okay. Sorry.
That was the hand.
Well, this is Chris. I want to be clear. There can be, and they could amend at some point, and if they were inclined to come back or want to continue, your public hearing portion of it has ended. But you do have the ability, but it's based on their request. And right now, as Mrs. Canier has pointed out, the height certainly is set in terms of the relief requested, but there is the ability based on, amending that request or coming back to the table. But if a decision is made one way or the other, that is set in stone.
So the choices, I can just reiterate, you can choose to continue. If you'd like to stop now, we can continue it to next month when we have a full board. Because if one of us votes against it, then it's dead in the water. Or we can go ahead and proceed with the vote and see where that takes us. And then that would, for a year, block you from addressing that ordinance about the height.
Which would mean that even if we said, hey, it could be 32 or 31, we wouldn't be able to do that for a year, you're saying?
Correct. Is that correct, Chris?
Well, we're not going to provide, unfortunately, I just don't want to get in a position where we're providing you with legal advice. You would not be able to ask for the same variance. And so it's probably appropriate to leave it there.
Okay, thank you. So, the ball's in your court. You want to take a minute? Or you good? You want us to-
Yeah, let me check with them
Yeah.
just a second.
Take it.
Well,
Sure.
Those on
Zoom, they're just stepping out for a minute to have a personal conversation, and they'll be back in a minute.
I think we're going to postpone with the idea that if we're able to look at it and get a couple feet out, if that would be more favorable. I don't know, or the fire department, it didn't sound like that was, real favorable with anything over 27, but, if that would be something, sir, that you would like us to do, it's something that we could look at. And if we decide that we are just going to go forward within the ordinance, if we're able, and obviously have that choice too.
Okay, and we'll have to vote to move this for continuance. So we have to have a motion.
I'll move to continue this.
I'll second.
All right, do you have to do a roll call, Chris? No.
You do not.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of continuing this petition to next month, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes to continue until our next meeting, which is August 9th, 7 o'clock. If
Okay.
you have any adjustments that you're gonna make, that will be due July 26th by 10:30.
You got that down.
I want to be clear here. The public portion is closed, so any variation from what has been requested would be the BZA to consider that they would do something less. The relief that it's been asking for is set in stone, so by virtue of putting it off, does not allow you to have another public hearing or another bite at the apple in terms of your petition, because you've noticed to the public. So the BZA has leeway in terms of any relief that would be granted, but you do not get a second chance, again, because you moved forward with the public hearing. That public hearing was closed. So I just want to be clear on that you're not walking away from here thinking that you have a second filing or a second opportunity to ask for something different than you've already proposed. The BZA does have the ability to grant something that's lesser as a condition, et cetera. However, you do not, and I want to reiterate that, you do not essentially get to submit a new petition or amended petition like it was at the preliminary, because the public hearing was set, the public hearing was held and closed. And with regard to process and the public having the ability to assess and participate in the process, that portion is closed.
Chris, thank you for that clarification. Is that clear?
I think that makes sense.
Okay, all
I mean,
right.
basically, that first gone, we would bring this to you saying, hey,
We could do 31 feet just as a final consideration, I guess is
But
that.
he's saying that you cannot do that, that the petition that you have is what stands. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is the BZA could vary if you chose to as a board to grant something lesser with regard to what's been presented. However, you have the plans that you've considered, all of those things. The board could choose to do that. Now, what is being offered is a concession, and that does happen. So you could take that into account, but essentially coming back next month is only going to be for the BZA to take a vote one way or the other on the relief that's been asked. And if the board wants to consider a lesser height, you can do that based on their concession. I hope that's clear.
Thank you. It's
That
clear?
makes sense. I
Okay,
think that's what I was
yeah,
thinking,
okay,
so we're all clear.
okay. Thank you, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it.
It is 7:35. Can we have a motion to adjourn? Is it true? Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thanks for coming.
Take care, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks, Chris.